Have you ever found yourself stuck behind a long truck and thought it was taking forever to pass? Imagine if that truck was over 150 meters long with multiple trailers stretching into the distance. You guessed right, this truck does exist. But do you know its name? Centipede Road Train. That's the reality. But what problem was so severe that it required creating the world's most extended vehicle as a solution? The answer lies in remote regions where traditional transportation methods were failing and how this mechanical giant changed the economics of moving goods across the vast, empty spaces. The transportation crisis that birthed a giant. Have you ever considered the logistical nightmare of moving goods across Australia's vast outback? Traditional trucks faced an impossible challenge, covering enormous distances that conventional shipping methods simply couldn't keep up. In the 1950s, Australia was experiencing a genuine transportation crisis that threatened the very development of its interior. Imagine this: a single delivery from Sydney to a remote mining operation could take weeks, with prohibitive costs that many essential goods simply couldn't be transported economically. The tyranny of distance wasn't just an inconvenience, it was strangling the economic potential of an entire continent. A typical supply run to remote communities involved trucks carrying minimal loads over brutal terrain, burning through fuel and maintenance costs that made each delivery financially painful. The problem was particularly acute for Australia's growing mining industry. Valuable mineral deposits sat untapped because the cost of moving equipment in and products out exceeded their market value. Cattle stations found themselves isolated during wet seasons, unable to receive critical supplies or transport livestock to market. The situation became so dire that by the early 1960s, some remote communities were facing abandonment. The Australian government recognized this existential threat to interior development and began funding research into transportation solutions. Initial attempts focused on predictable approaches: bigger trucks with more powerful engines, larger single trailers, and improved suspension systems. However, these modifications only marginally improved the situation while dramatically increasing vehicle cost. The breakthrough came from a fundamental shift in thinking. Engineers realized the issue wasn't just about raw power. It was about transforming the ratio of cargo capacity to operating costs. Economic development could be revolutionized if a single driver and engine could pull multiple trailers instead of just one. This concept represented a complete paradigm shift in land transportation. A government-industry partnership began experimenting with various coupling systems, allowing multiple trailers to be safely connected and controlled by a single truck. Initial tests were discouraging. The connections between trailers created dangerous instability at speeds above 40 kilometers per hour, and the power requirements seemed impossible to meet reliably. But persistence paid off. By developing specialized coupling mechanisms and reinforced attachment points, engineers created a system where a powerful truck could safely pull multiple full-size trailers. The economics were transformative. Suddenly, one driver, one engine, and one fuel supply could move what previously required 5 to 6 separate vehicles and drivers. The Centipede Road Train, as it came to be known for its many segmented appearance, could transport up to 200 tons of cargo in a single journey. This wasn't just an incremental improvement. It was a transportation revolution that made previously impossible deliveries economically viable. Remote communities weeks away from supplies could now receive regular deliveries at 1/3 of the previous cost. How the impossible became possible. While the economic vision behind the Centipede Road Train was compelling, turning this transportation revolution into reality required engineers to overcome challenges that bordered on the impossible. Imagine controlling a mechanical beast stretching longer than a football field across terrain so punishing it could tear conventional vehicles apart. The early prototypes didn't just underperform, they failed spectacularly. The first test runs revealed problems that made engineers question if the entire concept was fundamentally flawed. Trailers would jackknife violently when navigating even gentle turns, creating dangerous whipping effects that threatened to tear the entire assembly apart. Engines designed for conventional trucking simply couldn't handle the strain, with cooling systems failing and transmissions melting under the extreme torque requirements. Power became the first significant engineering hurdle. Standard truck engines maxed out at around 300 horsepower, but calculations showed the Centipede would need more than double that figure. Engineers had to develop specialized power plants generating over 600 horsepower to maintain reliability in temperatures exceeding 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the Australian Outback. These weren't just bigger versions of existing engines. They required completely redesigned cooling systems, reinforced crankshafts, and custom turbocharging configurations. Braking presented another seemingly insurmountable challenge. When a traditional truck brakes, it's managing one unit of momentum. However, with multiple trailers, each unit carried momentum that could quickly push into the trailer ahead or cause dangerous oscillations throughout the assembly. The solution came through multi-stage pneumatic systems that could coordinate braking across all trailers simultaneously, with sensors detecting trailer behavior and adjusting pressure in milliseconds. The connection points between trailers became the focal point of numerous engineering failures. It was too rigid, and the road train couldn't navigate the winding outback roads. Too flexible, and the slightest wind or uneven terrain would create a pendulum effect, sending trailers swinging dangerously at any speed above 40 kilometers an hour. Engineers cycled through dozens of prototype coupling systems before finding the right balance. Fuel consumption initially threatened the entire economic model. Early prototypes burned diesel 4 times the rate of conventional trucks, negating the cost benefits of hauling multiple trailers in one journey. Redesigned aerodynamics, specialized drivetrains, and computer-optimized gear ratios gradually brought fuel usage to manageable levels. The breakthrough finally came with the development of specialized converter dollies between trailers. These ingenious connecting units weren't just passive coupling points. They actively distributed weight and provided the perfect balance of stability and flexibility. With these dollies, a Centipede could safely pull up to 4 full-size trailers while maintaining control even on unpaved outback roads. The Centipede's impact: reshaping transportation economics. The economic impact of the Centipede Road Train wasn't just significant, it was revolutionary. When the first fully operational models rolled out in the 1970s, they sent immediate shockwaves through Australia's transportation sector. Those converted dollies might have been an engineering triumph, but their real power was in the economic earthquake they triggered across the continent's vast interior. Traditional trucking companies didn't welcome this mechanical behemoth with open arms. Instead, they mounted aggressive resistance campaigns, lobbying government officials to impose severe restrictions on road train length and weight limits. Their public arguments centered on safety concerns, but the underlying fear was unmistakable. The Centipede threatened their entire business model. How could conventional single-trailer operations compete when one road train could work 6 standard trucks? The mining sector experienced the most dramatic transformation. Operations in locations like the Pilbara region of Western Australia, sites previously considered economic suicide due to prohibitive transportation costs, suddenly became viable overnight. With shipping expenses plummeting by 60%, mineral deposits were documented for decades but deemed too expensive to exploit, and they became Australia's new economic frontier. By 1980, these previously marginal mining ventures contributed billions to the national economy. For isolated communities across the outback, the Centipede's arrival marked nothing less than a quality-of-life revolution. Towns that once received sporadic deliveries of essential supplies now had regular access to fresh produce, specialized medical equipment, and construction materials. The psychological impact of this connectedness was profound. Remote settlements no longer felt cut off from modern amenities. School supplies became readily available, once rationed carefully due to unpredictable delivery schedules. Healthcare facilities could maintain consistent medication stocks rather than relying on emergency airdrops during critical shortages. The environmental benefits proved substantial as well. With fewer vehicles required to transport the same cargo volume, fuel consumption per ton decreased dramatically. Where 6 conventional trucks might have burned through 2,400 liters of diesel to move the same load, a single Centipede could complete the job using only 800 liters, a 66% reduction in fossil fuel usage. The Centipede concept didn't remain confined to Australia. Other nations with vast territories quickly recognized its potential. Canadian logging operations in remote British Columbia adopted modified versions designed for forest tracks. Parts of the western United States implemented road road trains for agricultural transport across sparsely populated regions. Even African nations like South Africa and Namibia developed variants tailored to their specific terrain challenges. Today's modern centipedes bear sophisticated technology their originators could hardly have imagined. Advanced GPS systems allow precise tracking across remote areas without cellular coverage. Automated coupling mechanisms have reduced connection times from hours to minutes. Computer-controlled weight distribution systems continuously adjust to maintain optimal balance across all trailers, even when cargo shifts during transport. These mechanical giants today measure over 50 meters in length, longer than an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and can transport entire prefabricated buildings or complete mining equipment weighing up to 200 tons in a single haul. In Western Australia, the road train is such an integral part of the transport infrastructure that special highways have been constructed specifically for these vehicles, replete with special overtaking lanes and reinforced bridges designed for exceptional loads. The road train Centipede is a landmark in transport history, a juncture where necessity spawned innovation. Despite challenging beginnings, from its start as the lifeblood of Australia's interior, these mechanical behemoths have only increased with ever more refined safety features and technological advancements. There are now special road train corridors connecting major distribution points on the continent, with some zones designing infrastructure with the giants of the highway squarely in mind. I hope you enjoyed this exploration of one of automotive engineering's most impressive solutions. If you're interested in more transportation innovations that change the world, hit that subscribe button for weekly content on mechanical marvels. Have you ever witnessed a road train thundering through the Outback? Share your experiences in the comments below. Until next time, enthusiasts, keep your eyes on the horizon for the following engineering breakthrough that will reshape our world.